All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for coming. I know no one needs another commitment on any night, let alone a school night. So I really appreciate and value your time here. It speaks a lot to your commitment to your sons and your sons' education. And I just want to let you know we really value your time. So we'll try to keep this short and sweet, but also hopefully answer the questions you might have, and hopefully we'll communicate what we need to communicate to you so that the boys are using the technology in a safe way, in a smart way, and hopefully the information we share will make things pretty clear. Feel free to ask as many questions as you have floating around. The desire here is to have a shared understanding at the end of the evening about the expectations for the families, the expectations for the boys, on the school's part, what our expectations are, and what your expectations should be of us. We're very fortunate to have a fantastic new hire here, Mrs. Tina Monosmith, who has a lot of experience in Catholic schools and with one-to-one programs, both with laptops and iPads. Most recently, Mrs. Monosmith served as a principal at Transfiguration in Oakdale, where they had a middle school one-to-one iPad program, so she's lived it. She's also done similar work in theology and in technology at Totino Grace and Holy Angels with their laptop program. So we're very fortunate to have her with us, and without further ado, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Monosmith.
Thank you.
Let's give her a nice little.
All right, everything's live here. There it goes. I just have to put it in. All right. I'm going to try the microphone to make this easier. How's that? Can you hear me? Well, as Mr. Gibberish said, I'm Tina Monosmith. I'm new to St. Thomas Academy, but certainly not new to one-to-one programs and technology in our Catholic schools. And one of my big passions is actually ethical and safe use of one-to-one programs for students. I presented nationally on this topic, and it's something that I feel really strongly about, that we are your partners when you send your students, your sons to school here. And we have a responsibility to make sure that you're well informed about what's happening in the classroom and what we're giving your sons access to. And I want to make sure that I also give you some tools and tips so that you can make sure that your family life and your home life can work seamlessly with our iPad program and our technology programs here at school. If you have questions at any time, feel free to stop me. And I'll have a takeaway for you at the end of the night, some summary points and resources for you to take back with you. You're going to see my contact information probably 4 times tonight, and it's on the handout, partly because I'm new, and also because I know that you're going to have issues. You're going to have a tech problem with the iPad. You might have a question about how something is set up, or a question about something that your son is doing. I want you to be able to contact me directly so that I can respond to you quickly and make sure that our program is working well and that I can serve as a resource for your families and for your boys. So why do we have a one-to-one iPad program here at St. Thomas Academy? Well, there are a million different ways you can go with technology in the classroom. You can go bring your own device, which is what the high school students do here with laptops specifically. You can choose Chromebooks, you can choose a million things. A few years ago, when the decision was made for our middle schoolers, the iPad was chosen, and very intentionally. iPad provides several security measures that are really compatible with the mission and vision of St. Thomas Academy. And the iPad apps really are geared toward the educational environment, especially that middle school 5th grade to 8th grade range. So for our 7th and 8th grade boys, the iPad was really an ideal tool to start this program with. And now this class of 7th graders is a 3rd group of kids to have their hands on iPads in the classroom. So they're also getting to experience a little more seasoned educator in terms of a one-to-one environment this year. So here's the basic mission. The St. Thomas Academy one-to-one program is designed to enhance the successful academic program with relevant digital tools. A few basic points. Helping students be prepared with technology literacy skills is a requirement for them as they move on into college, as they move into the workforce. We want to make sure that we're building the correct foundation. Also, We want to make sure that our students are prepared with the skills that allow them to develop the right kind of problem solving and critical thinking and communication skills that they're going to need to be in a global community. Because let's face it, almost any job you have now does have that global access point to it. So we want to make sure that our students are prepared both to further their academic careers and to further their professional careers when they leave St. Thomas Academy. Why are we providing the device for your son? For a few reasons. One, it provides that digital access to those tools and resources. It gives the potential for our students to collaborate on academic endeavors and on projects they're working on, demonstrate their critical and innovative thinking, problem solving, creativity, but it also provides consistency in the classroom and consistency of their digital tools and resources for this first piece of one-to-one for them. By the time they're juniors and seniors in high school, their skill set will be different, their academic requirements will be different. But for this, the 7th and 8th graders, when they come in and they really have that tool, that new thing in the classroom, for many of them the first time, it's really nice to have consistency because it does minimize the amount of time in the classroom where you're saying, okay, I have it working on the iPad, but I have 2 or 3 other devices I need help with. Or you have this app or access to this and you don't. In the classroom for the 7th graders, they all have the same iPad, they all have the same apps, they have the same, they're playing the game with the same deck of cards. And so it really allows for consistency and it allows for the teachers to spend more time focusing on making sure that what they're using is enhancing education and not troubleshooting. So, basic breakdown, the summary. We're enhancing their learning experience, we're helping them to develop 21st century skills, and we're equipping them with the skills they need for a global community. Those are our 3 basic criteria. That's what we're using to make sure that every tool that we give them, every app we give them, is doing those 3 things. Does it meet these 3 requirements? And not just distract them from what they're doing or pacify them or provide them with entertainment. That's not what this iPad is for. They might have one at home that's for that, but that's not what this one is for. What will they be getting? They're getting a 3rd generation iPad, a Griffin Survivor case, and a lightning charger and brick. Here comes the bit of a disclaimer. These iPads are not new. They're not brand new devices, they have been used by other students. I have every reasonable expectation that some of these devices are going to go to iPad heaven this year, and I'm going to have to replace them with new ones as the year goes on. If that happens to your son, it just happens in the life of a device, and they'll come to me, I'll set them up with a new device, and we'll take care of the problem. The iPads are owned by St. Thomas Academy, unless they're destroyed because your son was using them as a frisbee, which I warned them not to do. In most cases, we're going to take care of replacing it. Any of those little glitches, we're going to take care of helping them with troubleshooting those, repairing those. So really, they're going to have to be intentionally rough with it to have it be any sort of liability for you. The other piece I wanted to just take note of is the cases are remarkably durable. However, they've been used before as well. So when you see them and you look at it and say, oh, well, the little cover that's over the charging port isn't there. That's not something you're going to be billed for. We know that. But the functionality of the Griffin Survivor case is really about impact and break. And those little things don't affect the functionality of the case. And we're not going to send you home a bill for those little tiny pieces of that on this device. So our teachers. So your son, most of them now, 92% of our middle schoolers have all their passwords and everything together, and they're holding iPads in their hands probably as we speak. They've taken them home today. They're prepared. How prepared are our teachers? Well, the teachers were training for this years before we actually launched the program here at St. Thomas Academy. They've had hands-on modeling. They've had Tech Tuesdays, where every Tuesday they had training. During their lunch periods, there was subject-based training, middle school-specific group trainings for apps, for classroom management, all of those skills. Also, they've added my position, the Educational Technology Services Coordinator, so somebody who's a resource for the teachers and the students in the classroom. I've taught just as a teacher, I've taught in 2 separate one-to-one environments. I've been an administrator in another. So I'm very, very familiar with all the little glitches and also all the amazing things that teachers and students can do when you give them a device and you add that to all the things that they get to do with their education. Use it to build on that foundation and allow them to show their creativity and what they understand by using technology tools, and I hope to be a really useful resource for our teachers this year. We also have 2 technology specialists on staff here, both teachers in our Spanish department who are really adept at one-to-one instruction and educational technology, and they also have parts of their day dedicated to be resources for our teachers. So lots of people on the floor to make sure that if a teacher needs support, if they want to try something new, or even if they want to add supervision to their classroom for that day because they're going to try something really innovative, we're there to do that for them so that your sons really can get the absolute most out of this program every day. How did we prepare the students? If your son came home to you and explained that now they were terrified of the internet, that's my fault. And several of them said, I'm more afraid of the internet than I am of snakes now. I said, good, then I did my job. We had a cyber safety boot camp, your sons and I, and we spent a couple days together getting ready to put our hands on these devices. And whether they were 8th graders or whether they were brand new 7th grade students, we talked about the risks of the internet, making safe online choices, and the digital footprint. What does it mean when you go online, and what do you leave behind? What can other people find about you? Why is that important? Why is making good choices important, whether or not your mom or dad's going to go through your browser tonight and see what you did? What are the potential repercussions of that? What are the repercussions for someone else if you decide to post something about someone else or bring somebody else into your online activity? And we really stressed with them the reality that there is no such thing as delete. That it's always there. Once you leave that digital footprint, that you can't take it away. And we did stress that hard and really clearly and really seriously with them. The key point in that being, we want them to start making really wise, prudent online choices as 7th graders, so that when they're 12th graders, it's second nature to them. And they're thinking about their digital footprint and that digital profile they're building for themselves for the rest of their lives. Because, let's be honest, if you've applied for a job recently, you know that the first thing people do is Google you. And we talked about that with the boys. Make sure that who you are online and what you search for and what you do and what you post is a reflection of who you want to be remembered as. This was a big quote that we had up for the boys, and we talked about everything our teens do online create digital footprints that migrate and persist. And so you might hear them talk about their digital footprint. A lot of them got really nervous when I told them things like Netflix attached their digital footprint. How is that possible? They're keeping your searching data. So Netflix knows everything I've watched? Absolutely, Netflix does. And did you share anything about what you liked on Facebook? Because now Facebook knows everything you watch too. And is their brains connected that the things that pop up on Facebook and the suggestions on Netflix were connected? You could see a lot of them sort of changing what they're going to be doing online. And that's fine. And I hope and I will help you reinforce that at home. So what kinds of things will your son use in the classroom? They'll have apps for Schoology and PowerSchool. Schoology is our in-house learning management system. So it's sort of like a social network in the way that a teacher posts things and your student can read and receive them and contact their teacher and submit assignments and take quizzes. So it's a digital way for the teacher to bring the classroom outside of the classroom and a way for your son to organize themselves. PowerSchool, which is grading and attendance. Notability, which is a note-taking app they'll all have. Several digital and online resources. Most especially, we have some incredible apps and extensions of our textbooks that will be installed on their iPads and they'll have access to. So there are things that they'll do with a good old-fashioned book, because that's a very important life skill. And then from that textbook, be able to link and connect directly to the iPad, and they'll have corresponding materials. So it really opens up the capabilities of the books as well. Each student has access to the entire Google Suite here at St. Thomas that can be used at any computer really, but they can get through all of it with the iPad app. So their Google Docs, their slides, their sheets, their forms, their full drive. So please encourage them, if they're typing homework and things, to use those Google Drive and Google Doc pieces, because they can always export them as Word if they need to, but this is a really great way to save them and make sure that they have access to them wherever they're at. And if they're typing something on their iPad and the battery dies in the car, when they get home, if they log into the Google Drive, whatever they're working on will be there saved for them. on any device. So it really is a nice extension and to make sure that their work is safe and saved for them to work on. They can also collaborate through this, through their St. Thomas email, their St. Thomas Google Drive. So it allows students to share a presentation and work together without you guys driving them anywhere. I saw a lot of happy faces there. So all they have to do is be logged in together and they can collaborate, edit, chat, add notes to their presentations, all of those things through the iPad connected to Wi-Fi and their St. Thomas Academy email address. That's all they need. So don't let them tell you that they have to work each other. They can, but they don't have to. Yeah. Safety and device care. You know, I mentioned before that when it comes to the device, we know that it's a used device. Now, these devices are in superior condition. We've gone through every single one of them. We've made sure that they're in great shape. But they have little signs of wear, and we're not going to be hyper vigilant about those things. We know that that's where they're at. When they're in the building here, we have a content filter that runs on all of the internet service in the building. So we block a lot of things. Inappropriate content is not happening in the building. They're not going to be running Clash of Clans in the building. But as soon as they step out of the building and they connect to a wireless network that is not St. Thomas Academy's, they're wide open. So that's where you come in a partnership. Now, we've explained to them very clearly what we expect of them, and when the device belongs to St. Thomas Academy, so they have no anonymity on it, and they know that. They've signed the agreement, and you'll get it tonight to sign as well. So if you want your son's device looked through, give me a call, we'll look through it. You can at any time take it, look through it. You have complete rights to do that. And you have rights to create those rules or your family rules at home. So if you have rules about internet access and screen time, all those things at home, please, by all means, do not consider this to be a loophole to your family's expectations. That's not what we desire when we create the program. The case, the Griffin survivor case, is really functional, but like I said, it's not new. We've recorded the damage. It's still going to protect the iPad when it, like my sons did, takes a fall on the garage floor and then down a flight of concrete stairs. You know. And I told your sons that story in slow motion, in graphic detail, so that, and then when I was done, I said, see, now you know what happens, so you don't have to try it. Don't intentionally drop it. And then we've really stressed with the boys, demonstrate responsibility when you're taking home the iPad. Don't leave it unattended. Do not lend your iPad to another person. And do not remove any of the numbers or labels, because that's what really gets it back to them if they do misplace it. So it's important that they're mindful of that. And they were all very understanding, very clear about that when they received their iPads. You all sitting here now too have a key role as well. Like I said, we're partners in helping you give your sons the best education possible. And so we want to make sure that there's a commitment to technology safety and appropriateness. You can filter access at home. If you don't want to take away the device, you want to create a filter, we have some tools for you to filter access at home, some free programs you can download in your house to make sure that your in-home Wi-Fi is filtered when your son is using, if that's something that you want to do. Monitor and limit screen time. That's perfectly acceptable and fine. And report lost or damaged iPad to the Media Technology Department right away. Like I said, we're going to take care of it, we're going to troubleshoot it, we're going to fix it for you. So let us know right away, and we can make sure that we have a functional iPad in your son's hands for his school use. Okay. All right, I told you it was going to be short, and we made the 25-minute mark. Do you have any questions for me? Yes?
Comment/question. So I've had 2 middle schools here, now I have an 8th grader. And what we've decided to do, and it seemed like it worked out pretty well, is utilize the restrictions feature. And I lock it down, and only twice did Andy have to call and ask for the passcode.
Yep. Well,
actually once, because I said, here it is, he put it in his file drawer. And then the second time he called me and said we had to use it again to download an app. But I don't know, my just 13-year-old boys, they know what they're not supposed to do. They are told what they're not supposed to do.
Yep.
They're shown, you know, everything. and they go do it.
Oh yes, they do. Absolutely they do. And with the content filter, we can look and see what's being searched in the building.
But I will just, my comment on that is that it's great to, do forensics and see what they've done. I think it's better to avoid them doing it in the first place because, we learned firsthand that it's pretty nasty stuff out there.
I completely agree with you, and that's one of the reasons tonight's meeting is so important, because I want you all to be aware of the fact that your sons, like I said, and I have repeated this a couple times, when they leave the building, they do have unfiltered access. If they stop at McDonald's and they hook up to that McDonald's Wi-Fi, they're out there on the World Wide Web, unattended. So, it's a give and take a little bit with the technology initiative, but I'm fully supportive of your decision to restrict, and that's probably what I would do as well. But again, that's up to to every parent, and if there are limitations that, like I said, that you want to put on your son's iPad, don't feel like because it's the school's iPad or we have to have this 24 hours a day for school. No teacher is expecting that your son is going to be emailing them at 11 o'clock at night. In fact, no teacher is expecting that your son is corresponding with them digitally outside of school hours at all. That's up to you, what access you give them for their homework time. Are you having them type it in Notability and then, okay, you have 10 minutes to sync to the internet and upload it? Because there's lots of things the iPad will do for them offline as well. So you do have some options there, and if you want to set up filtering things at home, I'm happy to help you, and I do have a handout with some resources there too. And cost-free filters. You can buy some really fancy ones that are really specific as well, but there are some cost-free options that can get you up and running quickly. Anything else? Yeah?
The fact that they're preloaded with certain apps, does that mean then that they should not need to download
Apps?
forward at all?
They cannot.
Okay.
So they won't be going to the App Store and buying apps and things. We will push things to them, and when that happens, they'll get a notification on there that there are apps there for them to download. But unless we push it and say this is going on the school iPads, and it goes on all of them, then they're not going to be able to access those things. So it eliminates an element of temptation. Now,
It's just way too, they'll just start loading all sorts of stuff on there.
So when they say Mom, can I put Clash of Clans on the school iPad, they won't even be able to.
No.
It's not even a yes or
no. Now, am I saying that there is no 7th grade, 8th grade boy out there who's tech savvy enough to hack around that system? I'm not saying that at all. I am saying that your sons have been told in absolutely clear terms several times and in writing and in a document they signed that if they do that, we're taking that iPad and they're without it indefinitely. We have no obligation to give it back to them if they decide to tamper with the filtering services and settings, and we were really clear about that with them. So, right, they just can't.
So the filtering programs that are on there for the parents, are those already preloaded? We just have to enable them?
Oh,
Because you can't load anything down,
yeah.
right?
You can't load anything from the App Store, but the internet connection itself is not filtered through the iPad. It's filtered through our Wi-Fi system here. So if they connect to a different Wi-Fi system, whether it's at your home, whether it's at Caribou, then they're only subject to any filtering system that's on that Wi-Fi connection.
So they can load away if they're at Caribou.
They can't load apps, no, but they just can, yeah, but they can just surf the internet.
Okay. So,
That's true.
okay, so, got it.
So there are several parents and families that I've talked to here that have rules about, the iPad doesn't come out. It's at home or it's at school. It doesn't go anywhere with you, and that's one of the ways that they really control what the Wi-Fi access is on it. Again,
It's the same issue with phones, because that's a lot of kids have phones these days. I like the time period when that wasn't the case, but most do. And of course, we've got kids doing unsavory things with their phones because they're on some other network for it. So loading a filter on there, again, is a parental option. Because they're young, they're curious, they're boys, that's what they do. But there's a lot of nasty stuff out there that too much too soon messes with you. It's not healthy.
And there's a lot of stuff out there that they might not even be searching for that falls in their lap, because they are the target demographic for a lot of unsavory things. So, you know, they could be clicking on a game that they think is innocent and come across something that they don't belong seeing, that they shouldn't be exposed to. So those are things that, especially in the building, we're trying to be really mindful of, and it's one of the reasons that we feel it's so important to have just a little bit of FaceTime with you as this program starts for the year, to make sure that it's on your minds as well, and that you can make decisions that you feel are appropriate at home.
Other questions? Tina, for me?
Do they do a lot of the note-taking on the iPad? What is the percentage versus writing in a notebook?
Depends on the class and depends on the teacher. Some teachers use that Notability quite a bit. When you go to back to school night on Monday or parent-teacher conferences, you'll get a sense of that, or ask your son. You know, just you know, with the transition, they're just getting iPads this week, so you know the boys right now probably don't have a sense of which classes they'll be using it more or less in. But on back to school night on Monday and then at conferences, you'll have a better sense of which teachers use it more or less. In geography, my book is online, and so they get a hard book, but they also have the ability to use it. And there's also the workbook. I give them a paper copy, but they've also got an online version where they can make the notes inside it. So it kind of varies from class to class.
What about in high school?
You know, it's brand new. You know, it's the laptop program is brand new. So again, it would vary from teacher to teacher. And it's also, since it's so brand new, the teachers and the boys are kind of growing into it together. So I couldn't really give you a firm answer, because it's just growing. You know, it'll be a little less first semester, a little bit more second semester, be a little bit more next year.
And the Bring Your Own Laptop program is designed a little bit differently than the iPad program, because certainly you don't have the consistency, and the devices are not owned by St. Thomas Academy, so they're owned by parents. And so what the boys have access to and how their machines are set up are really determined by their parents' rules and expectations as well. And online-based learning is a little bit different. It's a lot more collaboration focused in the high school classroom, if I can speak to my own experience there, because they're doing and branching out into a little more academic work on their own, a little more creation and research that they're doing independently, and then shared with their peers and learning how to prepare for that collegiate environment. So it's designed with a different goal than a 7th and 8th grade iPad program, which is introducing them to ethical use of technology and appropriate use of technology in an academic or work environment, giving them that first sampling.
And for the high school student, in terms of just taking notes, you know, that's partly the style and ability of the student. I think for most teachers, you want to take notes typing, that's great. If you want to take them by hand, some kids are hunt and peck, you know, some kids actually have a QWERTY ability. So I think in most cases for the high schoolers, it would be up to the student's ability and interest to keep pace, or if it's, you know, easier for them to write.
It's also a reasonable expectation, whether it's middle school or high school, that our teachers have a firm and swift policy when it comes to classroom management and technology. So if they're doing an activity that utilizes the iPad, utilizes a laptop in the classroom, and it's being misused or it's disrupting focus, our teachers are going to say turn it off and put it down, and it's going to happen fast. So you might have a couple days where a certain teacher says we're doing something entirely different, or we're not using it. Or it might be a day where it just isn't an instructional enhancement. If the iPad isn't enhancing learning, allowing your student to have a creative outlet or demonstrate understanding or do research, then it's just filling time. And so they might not use it. There might be a day in chemistry where there is no iPad. There might be a day in theology where the iPad isn't something that's enhancing the learning environment. And it would be the expectation here at St. Thomas Academy that if it's not, then they're not using it that day. And when it does, then they'll use it.
I just wanted to ask, in terms of note-taking, I don't know the style of case that you're describing. Does it have a keyboard, or are they just using the screen?
It doesn't have a keyboard. Although a student could have a keyboard, it has a Bluetooth connection, and if they wanted, just like headphones, if they wanted to connect a keyboard to it, they could. The Griffin Case, and I had a little picture of it up before you. My office is full of them. The Griffin Case is right this middle picture here. It has a screen protector on it, and then 3 layers of protection of plastic and a big rubber exterior. So keeps it pretty safe, and the touchscreen is fully functional, and they can sync to it with easily with a keyboard.
It's like an otter case for a phone. And then,
It is.
so the keyboard would just be on the screen, but there's ability to attach external one of those keyboards.
Yeah. Or even, even your basic Bluetooth keyboard will sync to it effortlessly, and the Bluetooth is enabled for them to use. Yes, sir.
Because I'm wondering, with regard to memory use for something like that, do they have does it have a camera app and do they take photos?
Yes. It does have a camera app, and they can take photos with their device. However, because the device is linked to their St. Thomas Academy email, and the device is property of St. Thomas Academy, any photos they take with it are fully accessible here. So, yes, they can take photos, but the back camera, the rear camera, has a piece of case that covers it, so in order to take it, they have to uncover that. It becomes really obvious.
And what made me think about it was note-taking, and I don't even know if teachers write a report anymore, so.
They love that. They love taking,
Oh, yeah.
notes on the board. Sure, yeah, they love that feature.
Yeah.
Or friends paper. But yeah, they love the feature of being able to take the pictures. And just like the phones, though, they got to be careful about taking pictures of their friends without their permission, taking them in the locker room, the bathroom, all these things. They can get themselves into trouble. They get carried away, and don't take a picture, man. Take it. Then you post it on. Then you get in all sorts of problems. So. Just like with the phones, the picture taking that has its upside and downside potential pitfalls.
And we talked through those scenarios in hyper detail when we did our little cyber safety boot camp. I showed them 35 seconds of the Ellen show where she does you posted that on Facebook segment. And we didn't look at what anybody posted, but we looked at the reaction on the man's face when she said to him, "Is there anything on Facebook that you wouldn't want me to see?" And his reply to her, in the specific clip I found, was, "I don't think so." And the boys and I had a long conversation about what was wrong with that answer. And by the time we were at that point in our boot camp, all of them were like, "What do you mean you don't think so? You don't know what you posted? You didn't think about what you put out of..." And so, at least in that moment, their brains were working on the issue, but they're going to get, this isn't a one and done kind of thing. They're going to hear from me and probably remember the fear of the internet I've instilled in them for years to come. But all year long, they're going to hear this message. Their teachers are very aware of it, and hopefully it's something that you'll remind them of at home as well. Make sure that they're painting a legacy for themselves online that they can be proud of.
Well, if you want to linger and ask some other questions one-on-one.
Do you want to take a selfie?
Like Ellen at the Oscars? That's funny. No, I don't.
Not that for a minute.
But thank you. Anything else before we wrap up?
That's it. Just as you leave, I have a handout for you to take with you. And also, I have a acceptable use policy. You can sign it and leave it tonight. You can take it with you and really look at it at home and send it back if you'd like to do that. If I don't get them from you, you'll get emails from me with attachments saying, please make sure that you print this and sign it and send it back. And my contact information is on the back of the handout I'm sending with you this evening. So as you look through the overview, some of the frequently asked questions, some of the tips and advice for filtering at home, all of my contact information is on the back. Please don't hesitate to contact me directly if you have any questions or concerns or issues with our iPad program. All right, thank you all for coming this evening.
Thank you.